So the summary of the Maamar Shoftim, Veshotrim. So this is, he quotes from the h'tשכ that was just published, that Sefer, from the Pardos, that all the Sviras are called Shoftim. And that's because they all emerged from Bina. But specifically Tiferes is called Shofet, the true judge. I'm adding the word truth because Kiyadua, that Tiferes is Yaakov Midas HaEmes. And I'm suggesting that the pshat here is why Tiferes is called the judge, because of the true judge. That Tiferes is a combination of both chesed and gevurah, and that renders a true judgment that is both just and empathetic. So therefore, of all of the sviras, Tiferes is called the shofet. Now, why are all the sviras b'chlal called shoftim in general, judges? Because they all have tzir. And where does the tzir, the form and structure, begin? At Bina. Because Bina analyzes the nekuda, which doesn't have a tzir, that's chachma. Bina is where tzir and form begins, and hence all the midas that then emerge from Bina have a tzir, which is what Bina is all about, giving form and structure. And he adds, so all hamshachas and hashpois come from Bina, and therefore the time when there has to be a new revelation, Ir Chodosh. So there's a whole discussion if the world is worthy, a din, a court case. And it all begins in Bina. So since from Bina comes the Koyach Adin Gevurah, therefore, as we just explained, therefore all the Sviras are called Shoftim. But where is it most dominant? Says the h'tשכ, it's Midas HaTiferes. And we suggested why? Because Midas HaTiferes is the combination of all of the Sviras, Chesed and Gevurah, and hence it's Midas HaEmes, and it's the mid of empathy, Rachmanis, etc. So judgment should be merciful. It's going to be a true judgment. And then he brings the h'tשכ from the Sefer Meir, that this is all shofet, but then shoter, the ones who execute the judgment, that's Malchus. Malchus strikes, it's the makeh, the roide, and implements the decision of Bina and Tiferes. And he brought from the Sefer Yoir and the Siv, who brings from the Zohar, that all the spheres, they are connected to Bina. But the shoter, the officer who carries it out, that's Malchus. So this is esoteric somewhat, and immediately translates it in hard avodah. So there's two inyonim, there's two madregas that a person, two levels of fear. It's all gevurah, shoftim and shotrim. Higher fear, higher awe, and the lower one. And that's how we need both, because there are those that are holding in the higher level of hisbonenus, yiri ilah. They don't sin out of a sense of shame, a virtuous shame in the presence of God. And then there's a lower level, those who are not holding at this level, they can't engender such an appreciation because of the paucity of their intelligence. And therefore, for them, the avodah has to be the lower fear, and at very least, the fear of punishment. And hence, the shoter, they're afraid of the shoter, not the shofet. They're not afraid, well, not concerned with the judge. No, the judge can say an opinion, and it's theory. They're concerned with the shoter, the one that's going to carry out, going to execute the judgment. That's the one they relate to. That's Midas HaMalchus, that's Yirat HaTorah. And the judge of the Shoiter, he says, the truth is, he says, you don't need a Shoiter. The person himself will carry out the ruling of the Shofet. You don't need a Shoiter. But if he resists, then the officer, whatever they are, have to enforce it. To smite the Nefesh HaBahamis with a staff. And so much so that those that don't resist that, you can't even give a patch. They're too sensitive for a patch even. They resist that. So then what? You got to tie him up. You tie him up, then you give him a patch. They didn't explain how you do that. It could be you tie him up with a lot of love, ropes of love, and then you give him a patch. He doesn't say. I'm just saying that. They shouldn't run away because now this is what we're up to. We're up to the words of the Maimon, but he says the end of the second last paragraph. Given should it so normally shown mitzius atzmam. They're going to run away because they have to be tied down because they want to remain themselves, and they tell us in Ha'ara 13, Be'inyan zeh nizker abitoi sam sapozhnik. In this context, they have mentioned the expression that is a sam sapozhnik. What's the story there? Rabbi told the story in the early years, more than once over the years, that they once found film by a guy, a non-Jew. Obviously, he stole it. So they not accosted him. They said to him, "What are you doing with film?" She says, "What do you mean? I'm a tailor. I'm a cobbler. Sam sapozhnik means in Russian. I'm a cobbler. I made it." So the Rebbe uses this story in many contexts. That one context he used it, like you're saying over here, is a Metzias for himself. Doesn't have to consult, doesn't need guidance, leave me alone. I myself, I'm a cobbler. I'm a cobbler. So you understand that the cobbler and film, what the connection is. In his mind, it's leather. He looks at it. I made it. Why couldn't I make it? So that's how he uses the context. The saying that we mentioned that here in this Maimon. In this Maimon, he talks about that the guy's got to be tied down because he's going to run away before you can even give him the patch. Why? You have to tie him down because he's completely resistant. He's a Sam Shapoznik. Won't tell me anything. And he concludes, V'atayre medaber as gamba madreg zachi shiflis, and Torah speaks even at the lowest levels. So it's quite interesting. You went from this mamish esoteric Kabbalah, from the Tzemach Tzedek, and then boom, into hard-hitting avodah. Madreg is achi shvelis. V'yesh lekasher is gimel, and connect this. The Rebbe says, Im avodah the chedesh elul. The avodah of the shoit, of the judge, the avodah of the shoiter, of the one who executes the judgment. So this is connected with the avodah of Chedesh Elul, in Yonai, Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. I am to my beloved, my friend is to me, K'mashal HaMelech, the Alter Rebbe's Moshe, Shekedim Be'le'ir. He's quoting here directly from the Alter Rebbe. Before he comes to the city, Yoitzin Anshi Ayili Krosai, the people of the city go out to receive him, Makabali and Ponav, and they receive him Basad in the field. Yazra Shoyin, and then permission is granted. Call Misharoitze Lotzis Lakbil Ponav. Anybody who wants to go out and receive the king, for who? And the king, Makablis Kulam B'Sev Ponav Yafes, receives them all with a pleasant disposition. Doesn't mention the smiling face here. Malbakashiseyem, and fulfills their requests. That's interesting. That is Azman, but concludes, although we don't have the end of the Maimer, that now's the time, now's the time to add in Limadat Torah, keeping mitzvahs, and in general, Avodas Hashem, And the footnote 17, that's all we have from the transcript of the Maimon. So we're going to look now at the Teichana in Yonim and then begin Kiseitz. We're going to go till the end, and if there's time, we'll do another Maimon. We'll see how we go. Or we'll start the Rosh Hashanah Maimon. So you go into Tkiyas. We'll see how we go. They're not long Maimorim, so we'll see how long it's going to take us. So now we're going to look at, if there's time, we'll do what, Lahakis publishes, republishes, redone Maimorim, which everybody's learning. They put it out there. So we'll do it if we have time. The Elul Maimorim. Shoftim, it's on the page in front of you, and guys on the Zoom, I just sent it now. Shoftim koil al bina. So Shoftim goes on bina. Makar HaGvuras, bin is the source of good again, because bin is analysis and compartmentalizing and analyzing the idea. Shemena nishba din lamata. That's the source of din, of judgment. Of course, Pashat, judgment has to analyze the case from all its perspectives and so on. Shoftim, however, that's Malchus. That's God's attribute of Malchus implementation. Hamakev aroide, when necessary, there's a need to strike. And roide means to, if I'm not mistaken, he did, to make subservient. That's the Malchus is the effect in Biyah, and Biyah is somewhat resistant to Likus because Biyah is a creation, and so therefore has a chayin. Listen here, there's an Eibush to Kindalach. What's these two in Yonim and Avodah? So Shoftim, judges, that's Bina, that's Yirei Ilah, that's the elevated awe of God. He's in awe, he doesn't sin because he's in awe. How can I do this to you? That's the Nakuda. But V'shoitim is Yiratata. He's not afraid of the judge. There's no interest in the judge. It's the bottom line. What's going to happen to me? So that's the Shoitrim. That's the lower fear. But Tzorech b'shneim, so why do we need both? Because there are those. So usually, what's interesting here is that often in Chassidus he speaks about the one person is different dargas, which is also true. But he's just going here much more graphic. There are those on this level and those on that level. These bonus are those that can reach this level of awe of God through this profound appreciation. And those that can't, so to remain on the straight and narrow, they have to arouse the lower fear. There are many levels to the lower fear, but the lowest is the fear of punishment, of retribution. That's what it takes, and that's what it takes. And then Bir HaShaychus Avodah b'Chedesh Elul, and that's connected to Avodah of Elul. We don't get into the Maimer. He just began with quoting that Rebbe's Moshel, but they don't have how the Rebbe then translated that. All right, friends, now we'll begin the next Maimer Kiseitz, which also speaks of the Avodah of Elul as we would expect.